I mean, sure, there's some people that are not like us by any means, but super strict rule followers. And I don't understand that. And I know you don't either.
Yeah, it's, I can't, I'll say nothing more.
Help me with hip-hop. Let's get it right. Protect your patience. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with hip-hop. Let's get it right.
Don, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that I think people need to know, or at least consider, which is that even security leaders make human mistakes. They make security mistakes. Like, it's going to happen. I think people often, they think that, oftentimes they think security is 100% anyway. You have to remind them of that. And when there's a failure, they still, for some reason, can't fathom the fact that, you know, something bad happened. But when there's a failure of the human, particularly the security leaders or somebody in security, that's like impossible. How dare you? You should know better. But, I mean, everybody has the same issues they face with, I need to get things done. Security is not convenient. How can I do this really quickly? There's all this stuff. And even as a security leader, you can still have those things happen. And in some cases, you may even have a little bit of overconfidence.
You may be.
That can play into it. So let's have a discussion about this. You found a good article on LinkedIn that kind of dives into this. Somebody was brave enough to throw it out there and say, look, I screwed up. Let's learn from this.
Yeah, I think it's great that he posted it, and I will probably butcher his name, Martin Rudy, R-U-D-D-Y.
I'm going to say Rudy.
Rudy.
Okay. Well, but here's the thing, though, is Martin is saying what other people are doing and hiding.
Exactly.
He's not the only one. He is absolutely not the only one that does this.
No. And the way he handled it, I thought, was remarkable. And I think that's why he's like, you know what? This is the way we need to do this. So let me put it out there. And I think it's an excellent article because it's titled, I'm the CISO. And last year I became the very quote unquote insider threat I warned my board about. So right away, you knew I was going to read it, but it was just an excellent brief article. We've got a link to it, but it really got my attention of how many times have we talked about overconfidence being a problem with technical people that, oh, I've got this. And that's the thing I'm so paranoid about most of the time.
It's not even the overconfidence of the technical people, but it's also often the overconfidence of those people who have a competency somewhere else, which is often high.
Yeah.
Like I had a guy tell me one time, I hire smart people. I'm not worried about cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And it was all I could do not to laugh on the call because I'm like, it has nothing to do with your intelligence.
No, not at all. No, you can be fully competent in cybersecurity and know all of the things. And this article makes some really good points about that. But as he points out, I am just as human as the users I protect. And I think that is a huge statement. Well, and that kind of went hand in hand with some messages in an article, the National Cybersecurity Alliance, peering into the crystal ball. They were brave enough to make predictions, 2026 predictions you should know about. They didn't go way out there on any of these, but one of the things is the human element is touched on in multiple different points of their predictions. So I thought these two articles are perfect for us to make an episode of.
Yep.
And everyone can learn. Are you ready to learn? Let's all put on our learning hats, our listening ears. because it is time to learn.
I don't think people, do they use thinking caps anymore?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you always wore the dunce hat, though, didn't you? In the corner.
I shall not say. I actually did have a teacher that did that. They literally had a dunce hat and made people wear.
Jeez.
You know, nowadays though, that would be considered some type of brutality.
Yeah. Well, it
And
is
you would
psychological
probably be
torture
criminally
to some kids.
charged.
I'm sure there's a serial killer that was built by that. Or some
I don't know.
deranged individual.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, let's talk about this story a little bit because, you know, basically what had happened was that he had something he was needing to do. And I think he says in the article, it was a personal thing he was trying to do. So wasn't even business related. I don't think. Now, it may have been personal for him for the business, but it doesn't say that. But he needed something. So he's like, okay, there's this piece of freeware that'll do this. So I don't have to buy it. The company doesn't have to buy it. I'm just going to download this little freeware tool, do the thing I got to do, and then I'm out. So he downloaded, and dude, we've done this thousands of times. I have.
Mm-hmm.
I downloaded something, freeware from a free site, whatever. Hey, earlier last week, I downloaded. Now, it wasn't freeware, but it was a trial of a software because I needed to create a graphic file that ended in a PES format, which I had no idea that existed until last week.
They're crazy.
But I needed it, and so I downloaded it. Anyway, what he did, though, is when he downloaded it and installed it, all of his alarms, bells, and whistles for the security went off, and he's like, oh, Lord, what have I just done? And so it had to be treated just like any other infected, compromised machine/incident.
Yeah, it flagged it and said, you've brought a Trojan into our network. And can you imagine how that felt? You know, but, you know, and from the way this is written, it was it was like not one of the big projects on our project board, but it was something I was working on just, you know, something I'd picked up for myself, you know, skunk works as they've called them before. But the issue comes because, you know, in our minds, we're trying to get something done quickly. And, you know, just like you said, I know where I can get this. I'm going to go get it because I don't want to go through the standard procurement and vetting process, which, by the way, he helped write, that he didn't want to go through the process that he wrote. And you and I both know exactly how that feels. You know, it's like every time I turn around and one of my team will ask me about, have you completed this? And I'm like, why am I doing that? Because it's in our policy. My bad.
The good thing about this, and this is the approach he takes. The good thing about it is when you are the person who's either writing those policies and processes or you're the decision maker, when you have to go through these, it helps you to experience what everybody else has to deal with. So you shouldn't be bypassing these. And then you become very intimate in how it feels as everybody else to have to jump through those security hoops. And you can determine, well, maybe this is a little too strict, or maybe there's a better way we can do this. Because I've done this a number of times in my company where we start out with a certain line in the sand, like we're going to not allow this site to stay logged in more than 1 hour at a time. And then after a few weeks, it's like, dude, this is getting crazy. I'm having to log into this site every hour. Let's up this a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's all about tweaking it so that we're not trying to bypass security, but we're trying to work hand in hand with security. We can't remove it. It's not optional. We have to have it there, but we can't let it impede us to a point where people are trying to circumvent it.
Exactly. And that's rules number 1, 2, and 3. Don's rules of security.
That's right.
Security is not convenient, which is what he experienced when he tried to follow his own security rule for procurement and vetting. It was not convenient, and so he knew he got around it. So rule number 1, broken because it wasn't convenient. Rule number 2, it's not optional, broken because it wasn't convenient. And then rule number 3 is what should have caught it, which is if you make it hard and you slow people down, they will go around it. If you make it hard to do the job, impossible to do the job effectively, people are just going to be a human. It's a human nature thing. It's not like this person will do it and that one won't right off the bat. I mean, sure, there's some people that are not like us by any means, but super strict rule followers. And I don't understand that. And I know you don't either.
Yeah, it's I can't. I'll say nothing more.
But I mean, we got high stress in so many areas of what we're doing. As much as they've now proven through study after study that multitasking does not make you more productive. It's a very rare individual that multitasking does actually improve your productivity. And so all of that, piles on. And then when you're the leader and you wrote them, you're like, well, I know enough to go around it. There's your myth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing I like in here is, he talks about the overconfidence and the urgency. He says he knew better. And that's honestly, most people, when something happens, that's usually what they say. Like, I knew I shouldn't have done that. I missed the cues. It felt like it was fishing, but then again, I had to hurry up and get this done. So there's a lot of things that oftentimes are, red flags, or you didn't feel right about it, but you ignore it. And that's what gets you in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, he's even said, well, I did like the point. I felt the blood drain from my face. I am sure it went all the way to your feet and then it erupted out of the top of your head.
Yeah.
But he pointed out, I prioritize speed over the very guardrails I expect everyone else to follow. And I thought that was, you can't be much more honest than that.
Yep.
But where this kind of falls in line, if you go to the National Cybersecurity Alliance and their predictions, and they hit on multiple things. The biggest breaches will still come from basic human missteps. They touch on how AI being used by untrained users will increase the number of data leaks that are going out. That cybersecurity training is going to need to focus on real behavior change, not just checking a box, which I loved. And
which contradicts the article a little bit that we talked about a few weeks ago, where the company said that cybersecurity training was worthless.
Yeah. Well, it's like what we're doing today is not working. Yeah. So you've got to do something else. You've got to do something else. You're not changing the behavior, then it's not working.
Well, the thing about cybersecurity training, in my experience, is that oftentimes it isn't that the training out there isn't what's working. It's the implementation or the execution that isn't working. I see a lot of really good cybersecurity training out there, but just having it in your arsenal does no good. If you're like, hey, we're going to send you this video once a month, just watch it, answer a few questions, you'll be good. It's not the training that's the problem. It's how the training gets rolled out and managed. That's where the problems are.
Yeah, and that goes for everything that you do. How does it get rolled out? How does it get managed? And is it easy, yet still meeting the requirements of what we need? Because you put any kind of boulder in the way, they'll just take another road, or create a new path around it. It's not going to be convenience is the issue, and you've got to find that balance where you can make it. Security is never going to be convenient. You're not going to be able to just do however you want without any worries. You can't. Otherwise, no house keys. Let's just don't have house keys and car keys. We'll just leave them in the car. Leave the door unlocked.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up that way. It was great, but nobody does that anymore. Yes, we won't talk about how long ago that was. So,
In the skeleton key days.
yeah, where they crank the front of the car. No, I'm just kidding. But that was one of the things. So you got AI involved now, where people are going to want to include these tools, and you're going to have that drastic difference between I'm going to absolutely, head first, jump in. I don't care. AI, I'm going for it, but I'm not going to plan for it. I'm not going to do any security about it. To the, I don't know anything about it. We're not going to use it, but then you're using it and you don't know you're using it. Mm-hmm. And it's only going to get worse. That is not going to get better. That's not going away. And,
no.
And so we live in that world today, and we need to understand that. And that's why everything we do has to evolve. We were talking about how he went through, the things that he had learned from this exercise, because he did the right thing. I mean, he followed the rules himself that he would want somebody else to follow. But he did learn that convenience is the enemy of security.
Yep.
Even for experts, if a process is too clunky, people, including me, will bypass it.
Yeah. Well, he does say something it's a little controversial, at least for me, because he says we need to make the quote unquote secure way the quote unquote easy way. I don't know if that's possible. I think you can make the secure way an easier way than maybe what it currently is, but I don't think the secure way will ever be the easy way. The easy way is not to have security.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but I understand what he's saying. I'm not hearing what he's not saying.
We need to make
trying to say we've got to make it better.
Yeah, we need to make it not too clunky, so that you just don't want to go through it. And I think that
can't be painful. It can't be painful. And this is the pushback that I get oftentimes. Probably the two areas I get the biggest pushback is MFA, because it requires them to pull out their phone and look up something or put in a code somewhere. And then the other one is approving applications for install. That's probably even more painful, because when they go to install it, we have to review it and then approve it. There's usually a 5-minute delay, because, the application polls like every 5 minutes. So even if we approve it 5 seconds, it takes another 5 minutes before they're able to install it. And those are the two things I get the most pushback. And it's always from the C-suite people. It's never from the frontline people.
Right.
Like, I needed to install this. And for some reason they need to install it at 2:00 in the morning. I never can figure that out, but they need to install it. And, we can't get to it fast enough.
Well, and that gets back to leaders have that tendency, and the number of times you and I have both been in the room saying, this is what we have to do for security, and literally have them say, can we do it for everybody but me? I don't want it for me. Well, then let's just don't do it, because it's not going to work. And we have to have from the top down that culture today of this stuff is great, but we've got to find a way to balance those three things. We know it's not convenient, but it's not optional, but it's got to be easy enough to do that it doesn't drag you down. And those are the hard things to get that balance for, but we have to focus on all three. I've always talked about that. And the number of times technical people will call me and they're like, blah, 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 they're not doing this. And how do I get them to do this? And I'm like, well, have you looked at how they have to do it? Because it sounds like you're worried about 1 and 2 and not 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Us technical people love the first 2.
Everybody else loves the third one.
Right. Then there's your issue.
Which brings us to the next point that he brought up was accountability is a mirror, which I thought was really a great way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he called the security center lead immediately when he saw that thing pop up that he had caught something. He didn't pull rank. He said, you know, treat it as a compromised asset of anybody else, and made the point, if leadership is exempt from the rules don't exist.
Yep.
So,
yeah,
you know, he's on the same
as
page.
a leader.
Yeah. Yeah. If you know, do as I say, not as I do, does not work with children. It sure doesn't work with adults. You know.
No. And how many times do you see that where you know somebody in leadership did something they shouldn't have done, and then the question is, well, what type of sanction policy or what type of sanction are you going to do? And they're like, we're not going to do anything. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, why do you have a sanction policy then if you're not going to follow it for everybody?
Yep. Yeah, I always want to suspend myself for 3 or 4 days. Just in the middle of the week, not, you know. But, you know, I at the same time can't be that egregious with my mistakes usually. So
maybe your sanction policy should be you have to work overtime.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. I've done that. You know, people screw around and delete programs back in the day when, you know, you weren't following the rules. Well, you know what? That program has to be ready tomorrow, and there's no other way to get it back other than you re-entering it. You know, you can get parts of it on the backup, but all the work you did today, you need to stay here and redo it. And you know, we're way better than that today. And I think it was the programmers who made those mistakes, you know, that they're like, to the next generation of developers, they're like, you're going to need to save it all the time.
Every 5 minutes.
We don't need no stinking backup. But it was interesting that he did like the postmortem, right? Like you're supposed to. There was an incident. We had a security incident. We had a compromised machine. Reviewed every bit of it. How did we do? What did we do? Well, you know, we had a strong word with the person who did it, but I had that strong word in the mirror, right? Mm-hmm. You know, and we will get angry at ourselves, but he was looking at it objectively and saying, okay, of the things I've learned, what is it that we can put in place and make changes about how we're doing things? And number one, streamlining our software request portal to reduce procurement friction. That'd be a great thing because that's the core problem. If even you want to get around it and you wrote it. By the way, how do you install stuff on your computer?
Me, I go in and, you know, everything we do prompts us. And so we get prompted. I go in. There has to be like an approval process. I approve it, or I can have somebody else approve it. Now, most of the time, software I'm installing is from Microsoft or somebody like that. Very rarely am I installing something that's not from a verified vendor. I don't install games. I don't do anything. I got another system I do all the other kind of junk on. But it logs everything I do. Even if I install my stuff on my own computer, it gets logged. It creates a ticket. It goes into my documentation.
See, that's all good stuff. And that's how we have documentation, people. So that was the number one thing. And also a very big thing, encouraging a, quote, no shame reporting culture. Because the faster we know, the faster we fix it. Which, you know, we've talked about that before as well, of the importance of people feeling comfortable enough to, you know, people are like, I'm going to get fired. You know, you're more likely to get fired if you don't tell anybody because it's going to become out of control. But I think it's really good to take the no shame approach and to teach it, but you got to teach it to your staff because that goes back to the training. If we don't teach them that, they're going to, I mean, everybody is like, when you make a mistake, It's like those videos, you see all the videos, the memes on the internet. I always love watching the naughty dogs and kids, and you got the kid with flour all over him and the dog's sitting there. One's covered in flour, one's not. And mom's going, who did this? And the kid's pointing at the dog and the dog's pointing at the kid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. Yeah. The thing too about the reporting though, not just the no shame part of it, but sometimes I've run into the fact that people don't understand the importance of the reporting. So it's not that they care about the shame or anything like that. They've got that down. They just don't understand how important it is. And so they'll wait. Where, for example, I've had people call me and say, we had an email compromise, and I'll say, well, when did this happen? Well, it happened 2 weeks ago. Well, when did they let you know about it? Or this morning? Why? Well, they didn't know it was that important. Well, usually it's like, oh, I forgot to tell you, but we had this weird thing show up on our email last week or whatever. And it's like, they don't get the importance of saying something because I guess maybe they don't understand that, hey, when you see this behavior, don't ignore it. Like if your mouse is moving by itself, don't ignore it. You know what? And it might not be anything 399 times out of 400. It may be nothing, but the one time it is can be serious.
Yeah, it could be like business destroying if you're not careful. And you look at all of the stories, the Change Healthcare breach, a human failed, right? And then they knew that they had something not happening under policy, but they kept going because they thought that'd be okay. And then it's just one thing after another that were all things that were preventable if someone had taken action sooner rather than later. And we know that. Yep. But I like this third point of, and I think it's important for the team, the technology, cybersecurity team. Security isn't about being perfect. It's about being resilient.
Oh, yeah, because security can't be perfect, and it won't be perfect.
No.
So what are you going to do when it fails? And I say security is everybody's responsibility. So when I say it fails, I mean somebody in your organization somewhere failed, not just the security folks, but somebody somewhere failed. It's going to happen. There's no doubt it will happen.
And it always leads back to that. And at some point, we'll be able to go, the robot did it. And we won't have to deal with this. But, from a big picture perspective, I think it's important that leadership take that top-down approach. Look in the mirror. Do something about it. Teach your folks that, we understand it's not convenient, but if it's not convenient, don't just go around it. Come to us and let's work together to solve that problem. Also, you go try the thing. If they're saying it's not easy, you go try it. Because maybe they haven't been trained properly and they're doing 15 steps they don't need to. The number of times I've seen that. But if we're not listening and we're not doing things to make it easier, to stop the friction, it's like, him wanting to get around the procurement thing. He felt like a head of lettuce and the procurement thing was a grater. And he didn't want to be slaw. That's it. That's how you look at it.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those, I just need this one thing real quick. And that's what gets you.
Yeah. I'm just going to do
this one thing real fast.
I'm going to turn this one little thing off on this firewall just for a little bit, and then I'll turn it back on. Yeah.
Yep. As soon as you turn it off, somebody calls you on the phone, or you got to run to the bathroom, whatever it is.
Or you find something. Yeah, you find something and go down a rabbit hole, and you forget all about what helped you find that thing. It's really not something we should take as technical people. Other people find ways around things, but We build ways around things, so it makes it even worse. And then you can reuse them. Then the next thing you know, everybody's using the way around things instead of the secure thing. And, you're in a vicious cycle there. But for the most part, it's important that everybody understand it doesn't matter whether we're talking consumers or our businesses, leadership, or the kids, or, mama and papa. The thing all of us have to learn is that this is for real and it's for everybody. And I like the way the National Cybersecurity Alliance pointed this out in the end of theirs. For all of us, the fundamentals still matter. Keeping software up to date, well, that's what we call it, patching, making sure everything's up to date. Using strong and unique passwords, which, by the way, the NCA mentioned that passwords were going to melt away. I love that line, melt away. Yes. And, the passkeys I've converted to, I love them. Enabling multi-factor authentication, yes. We know that. We know it's not convenient, but we need to make it inconvenient for the malicious attack as well as inconvenient for you. You're the only one to get around the convenience, not them. Being cautious with unexpected messages, that would be, don't wait 2 weeks to tell somebody.
Yeah.
But those are the most effective ways to protect yourself. And that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're all fairly easy, honestly. Mm-hmm. Keeping your software up to date depends on whether you're doing it yourself or you've got, an IT person doing it for you. But just make sure it's being done. Even if you've got somebody doing it for you, make sure that's being done. I still think strong, unique passwords are an issue. Every time I talk to a group of people, there's always somebody in the audience of people that ask me a question like, well, how are we supposed to keep up with all these passwords? I can't do more than 5 or 6. Still have the same comment. And, and I always laugh because somebody always says, just write it down and keep it in a journal. And, I don't know, you could debate that all day long. I do think for some people, I'll go out here, some people are going to hate me when I say this. I think for some people, in some circumstances, writing them down in a journal is probably your best bet.
Oh, yeah.
I think about my parents.
Oh, yeah.
Like my dad I would die to put him on a password manager because he would probably have that password manager get breached in a week. He is much better writing it down in a journal that's going to be in his desk drawer.
Yeah. That's perfect. I don't need to get to it when I'm not by my desk anyway. I would put it in a fireproof safe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because it's funny because we just recently had this conversation with my wife, and her dad was not doing well with his health a couple months ago. He's better now. But there was this big discussion about nobody knows how to get to any of his information. Where's your passwords for everything? Now with him, we set him up on a password manager and we shared it to my wife so that, we have that information. But, he's like, well, if something happens to me, my bank account's here and my insurance is here, my this is there. And like, great, but nobody can log in any of that. It's not helping us at all.
Yeah. And yeah, so it is big now. You have to have a digital will,
Yeah. Yeah. So, be thinking about that kind of stuff. This has nothing to do with business, but what are you going to do if somebody, and it could be business, you got somebody that's in your business that is a key employee. Like if something happens, can you get to their stuff? I had a doctor called me Christmas Eve. My office manager's out, like literally having surgery, and I need access to her email because there's important stuff in there. Can you give me the password? And I'm like, I don't have a password. Best thing I can do is reset it for you. And she's like, well, I need everybody's password to get into everybody's email. I need to know what's going on in my business. And I'm like, well, number one, you shouldn't have that information. I certainly don't have it. But you've got a bigger issue, which is you don't know what's going on in your business, and you don't have a central place where this data lives. Inside people's inboxes is not where you run your business. That's a bunch of silos, and you're going to get into some big trouble at some point. This is going to blow up in your face. So that's the problem we need to solve for.
Yeah. And did they take your advice?
They, for the immediate solving of the problem, they called the person that was having the surgery done, got their password to get into the computer. And I told the person, I was like, you need to reset your password when you get back to work. So, we still haven't circled back yet on the bigger issue, but it's on the roadmap.
It's always on the roadmap, isn't it?
It is on the roadmap, but it's one of those areas where they need to care about the security and they need to care about fixing this problem. Me saying that you need to fix the problem doesn't make things go very well, because then it becomes this. David wants us to solve this. I don't want to solve it. I want them to solve it.
Yeah. But also, it's your point that we've talked about before is I can't worry more about your business than you do.
No, it never works out because I get frustrated that the client's not doing what they should be doing. Then they get frustrated with me because I'm frustrated with them.
Yeah.
And they'll just go find another MSP that is not frustrated because they don't care.
They're like, whatever.
Like, I just want to, I want to find somebody who will just let me do the wrong thing and be okay with it. And that's hard for us to do.
And that's a perfect segue to this closing section on the NCA. Most importantly, in 2026, cybersecurity won't be something you think about once a year. It will be an everyday part of daily online life.
Yeah. Well, the question is, do you realize that it is?
Yeah. That's the key.
It's like, do you see the air you're breathing? That's cybersecurity. It's the thing that's always there, but you never see until you don't have it. And then it's like, it's the most important thing in the world when you can't breathe.
Absolutely. I definitely know that. This is where we have been trying to get for years. And now we're at the point where you can't keep putting it off. You can't keep assuming somebody's going to take care of it. I know better. All of those things. I think the story is an excellent one to use to say, make the case of, it doesn't matter what level you're at, this could happen. So I think it's a great thing. And especially for tech folks, you need to make sure you remember, I am just as human as the users I protect.
Yeah. Pobody's Nerfic.
Oh my God. I did not see that one coming.
So we'll leave with that. Anyway, we'll give you a lot to think about in today's episode, but be sure to join us again next week. We'll talk about more HIPAA humor and all the things that collide in our lives. Until then, remember for Donna and myself that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.